Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ultimate Music Lover album reviews, unboxings, etc. Today's video, this is right after the Blue album review. But I am going to do this right now because I do have some background information, not a whole lot, but I'm going to use the knowledge that I've obtained over the last few months of listening to these two albums. And today we are going to have a debate. We are going to debate on which Smashing Pumpkins album is the better album. Before I start, this is all personal opinion. At the end of the video, I already gave it away in the previous video, but I'm going to say which one is the winner, in my opinion. And I know you all have opinions, so I respect your opinions. Please respect mine, and I'll give you reasons why I prefer one over the other. So without further ado, here's the debate. Which one is the better Siamese Dream album? Well, which one is the better Smashing Pumpkins album? There, I just gave you one of the albums. Siamese Dream, which I have here on the 2011 remaster on vinyl LP. This is the 2020 repress. And then the original 1993 cassette tape. So Siamese Dream or Mellon, Collie and the Infinite Sadness, which I have here, a 1995 double cassette. I also have the double CD from 1995. This is the slipcase version of the cassette. I also have the long box edition of the cassette. And this is the 4 LP 2012 remastered box set. By the way, worth every penny. If you can go pick one up, do so. There has been some weird manufacturing defects lately because this is the newest 2022 repress. There's been some defects, but overall it sounds good and I'm happy about it. So Siamese Dream or Mellon, Collie and the Infinite Sadness, which one is the better album? So we are going to start with Siamese Dream. Okay, so people have claimed that this is one of the most influential albums of the 90s and that it has made a spot in its place. Let's talk about it. I love this album. Don't get me wrong here when I say this. I love this album. It's good. But more than 50% of it is filler, and I'll explain. So, Share a Brock. It's a good way to open an album, if I had to say anything. Like, it's a good opener. But, like, Share a Brock, they're really... it's honestly just, it's filler. It's a good track, but I feel like it has nothing to do with the album, period. It just really gets me to hear the song because I don't know what the whole hype about Share a Brock being a great song is. And I mean, the song is about being yourself and going around, but because you see when I did my Siamese Dream album review that my opinion on the song has changed because it's more about just like being free along with Rocket. It's more about like living a free life, you know? Go freak out and give in to being free and go live your life. But I don't know, Share a Brock has just never caught my attention. And I don't know how it became a hit, how it became a single, but it did. And it just really surprises me that not one of the other tracks would have became a single. But let's get on with it. Quiet. This is a good one. It's not bad, but I definitely don't like it's just another filler track, honestly. Like the really good, the only good songs on this album, in my opinion, are the hits, and not counting Cherub Rock, but they're the hit singles that came out. And so Quiet is just, it's just another song that's filler. I don't know how to describe it. Today's a good song. Today is one of my favorite songs by the Smashing Pumpkins and one of my favorite songs ever. However, the meaning behind it is dark, and I was surprised when I first heard it because I was like, oh, oh, it's all cheery and everything. But then when I figured out that the album is about getting ready to commit suicide, but like having a hesitation to do so is like, oh, that's freaky. But it is a great track. Hummer. Now, this is a filler track, but it's good. The thing about Hummer that's good, this is like in the middle. I still consider it to be mainly filler, but it's a good track in the fact that you have the mix of heavy and then it gets quiet and then it gets heavy again and then it settles down as quiet to the end before it comes back with a big bang and then gets silent. It's very interesting. It's an interesting track. It fluctuates from time to time whether I consider it filler or not, but I mainly consider it filler because it's just another song in there that's trying to make the album flow along. Um, Rocket's good. I love Rocket. Rocket's a great track. It's about being free. I think it's about having the freedom to just finally grow up and have your freedom, because the truth is you're always going to have some freedoms oppressed, but when you're grown up, despite of the fact you have to work harder than you do when you're a kid, you still have more freedoms to do whatever and have an open mind and the freedom to make more decisions than when you're a kid, because you have knowledge that you've obtained from who knows how many years. And so Rocket is like this kid just wanting to be free. And so I love that song. It's great. Now, Disarm is another one of those songs that is one of my favorite Smashing Pumpkins songs, and definitely one of my favorite songs ever. Disarm is about growing up pretty quick, like maturing at a young age, and but yet living such a kidly life. So main character in this album is, he's just a little, or he remembers when he used to be a little boy, but he was so grown up. Like he had talent that an adult would have. And then when he got to an adult, he just gained more knowledge. So he was one of those people that obtained more knowledge than most people his age, is what he's saying. He's saying that for his age, he matured and became a more mature boy quicker than most of the kids. Soma, it's good, but it's filler. Same thing with Geek USA. I don't know why people like Geek USA so much. That's just filler. So is Mayonnaise. Sorry for all you Mayonnaise lovers, and especially Jacob Givens, who claims that Mayonnaise is his most favorite song. Now, I totally get it, because there are some, like, I respect what your favorite song in the whole wide world is, because that's going to be different for everybody. Their favorite song in the whole wide world, or their comeback song, which my comeback song is also my favorite song in the whole wide world, it's going to be different for everybody. So the fact that he said Mayonnaise, I respect that. I love the fact that one of his favorite songs, that his favorite song in the whole wide world is a Smashing Pumpkins song, but this is filler. I'm sorry to say it, but it's filler. It never caught on to me. It did for a second, and I don't hate it, but I just like, yeah, the album could go well without this. Space Boy. Now that is a good song. Space Boy is another one of my favorite songs by the Smashing Pumpkins, and probably favorite songs ever. Space Boy is incredible. From what Jacob Givens said on his Siamese Dream Deep Dive, he said that this song was about, could be about Billy Corgan's autistic half-brother or something like that. But it's a good song either way. Whatever the message, whatever he's trying to say here, Space Boy is incredible. I love Space Boy. Silverfuck, now that is a filler, okay? I appreciate the music, the musical meaning behind it, but the lyrics and the message just doesn't do it for me. Musically, it's great, but it's just another filler track. Sweet Sweet. I wish Sweet Sweet was longer than a minute and 27 seconds or minute 25 seconds, something like that. I wish it was a little longer because that's just a good song. And Jacob Givens has claimed that his wife and him used to sing the song to their child, which is just very awesome because I feel like it's a good lullaby tune. And then Luna, beautiful love song. Luna, you cannot deny. Sweet Sweet and Luna go hand in hand. Those two are very good songs. And I totally relate to Luna. I totally get it. About just going on because I'm lazy. Because I just want to do it to be with you. The reason why I go on is for you, not for any other reason. And that's being lazy. So I totally get that. So favorite tracks on the album: Today, Rocket, Disarm, Space Boy, Sweet Sweet, and Luna. So that's 6 out of 13. 7 out of 13 I consider filler. Now, this is my least favorite Smashing Pumpkins album, and I know that's a little bit controversial, but the only reason is because this album isn't bad. I love it. But it only sounds good if you listen to the album in its entirety. If you take any of the other songs and listen to them by themselves, like Cherub Rock, Quiet, Hummer, Soma, Geek USA, and Mayonnaise and Silverfuck, if you listen to those by themselves, then they're not really good. Like, Mayonnaise by itself is better than all the other tracks I just mentioned, but you have to listen to the album as a whole to be considered a great album. Because if you honestly want my opinion, this album would be better if you took out all the filler. So if you started the album with Cherub Rock, that would be okay, even though it's a filler song. And then you have Today, Rocket, Disarm. I guess you could throw in one more filler track in there. I guess you could throw Mayonnaise in there. Why not? Space Boy, Sweet Sweet, and Luna. So if you took out Quiet, Hummer, Soma, Geek USA, and Silverfuck, I feel like the album would be so much better if you took out those 5 songs. But even with those 5 songs included, if you listen to the album as a whole, this is still a really, really good album. But more than half of it, more than 50% of it is filler. And all the other Smashing Pumpkins albums I've listened to, they don't really have that much filler. Like, some of them, like Zeitgeist, would be in 10th place. This would be last in 11th. Zeitgeist would be 10th, because Zeitgeist is kind of the same thing. There's just a couple songs on there that could go without. and almost half of it is filler, but not all of it. That's why Zeitgeist is better than this one. I don't know. This is all just personal opinion, but I truly believe that half of this album is filler. Like, more than half of it is. But if you listen to it as a whole, it's still a really good album. But that's it for Siamese Dream. Now we're going to go in on the Magnus Opus. So, Gish is a platinum debut album. Incredible. Siamese Dream, despite my opinions on it, it's still really successful. It's a 4 times platinum double album. But this is just something else. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness is a 10 times platinum double CD, double cassette, or triple vinyl album, or quadruple if you count this box set. But I'm going to say triple album because the vinyl LP version of this album released in 1996, just like a few months. It was in April of 1996. So April 26th, I believe. So almost 6 months after the original release of the album on October 24th, 1995. Interesting fact, by the way, which is weird, but the double cassette, at least according to Discogs, this was released in October 23rd of 1995. And then the double CD and the long box double cassette was released on the day that it was intentionally supposed to be released, on October 24th, 1995 in the UK, and then this is according to eBay, and then it was released a day later in the US. So the actual release date is truly unknown, because if you have this cassette releasing a day before, and then you have the album releasing in the UK on the day of, and then the true release date is a day late for like the CD and for the CD version of, it's hard to explain what the true release date of this album was. But regardless, I'm going to say that October 24th, 1995 is the day that this album was released. This is 10 years and 3 days older than I am, this Magnus Opus. So this is almost exactly 10 years older than I am. This is just older by a few days. But this is definitely the best album ever, and the best album by the Smashing Pumpkins. I don't know any other album within a 27-year period that has released, that has obtained 8 Grammy Awards and has become a 10 times platinum selling album, triple album, or quadruple album. This is just insane. This album is incredible. Some people say that Siamese Dream is great from start to finish, but Siamese Dream, I feel like there's a few bumps on the road. This is definitely the best. This is Smashing Pumpkins' Magnus Opus. This is very great from start to finish. So now I am going to explain, at least in my opinion, why this is the greatest album of all time to ever exist, and why this is Smashing Pumpkins' best album. So, you start with Dawn to Dusk on a CD, on 2 CDs or 2 cassettes, the album divided evenly from Dawn to Dusk and then Twilight to Starlight. So to release the album in the way it was originally intended was easy, but on 3 LPs you couldn't do it that way. So They completely rearranged the song order so they can fit it on 3 LPs, and then they added 2 bonus tracks on the last side so that they could fill it in on the last side. I don't know, it's weird. The triple vinyl LP track list is just mumble jumbled. This cassette, the cassette version, the CD version, and this quadruple LP box set is the way that the album is intended to be listened to from start to finish. But I do know some people that prefer the 3 LP track listing, and that's okay because I've heard both variations, and I could see why some people prefer the other because, well, maybe they grew up and they didn't have money to buy, they didn't have enough money to buy the cassette or the CD at the time. Because, like, CDs were, like, for anybody that had bougie technology and was rich. And then you had cassette tapes, which was, like, a step below for anybody that could make a decent income. But then vinyl LPs were not common, so you would see those going for pretty cheap. And I'm guessing that in 1995 you could, or 6 I guess, in 1996 you could pick up this album on 3 LPs for only like $15 as opposed to like $20 for the cassette or the CD. So some people back then were probably like, yeah, we'll just get the triple LP, despite the fact that the song order is all like bleh. But it's crazy how much this album has come to. You can still find the original 1995 double CD for as cheap as like $5-10, maybe $15. Sometimes they go very expensive, like $20 or $40, and then like $40 to $50 if they're still sealed. And then, but the cassette, the double cassettes got out of hand. If you have the cassette tapes just by themselves, you're looking at $35 to $40. If it comes with the slipcase, you're looking anywhere from $45 all the way up to $120, $30. And then the long box, I bought my double long box for $93 something, so almost $100. And then there's a copy that got released on Discogs recently, which is where I bought my long box copy. There was another copy that got listed for like $85, and then there's a long box copy on Etsy that's $120. So, and then you have the quadruple vinyl LP box set that's being sold for $100 to $150 on some of the big box retail record shops. But then you look at places like eBay, which they're being sold for $200 to $300, even $400, almost $500. Some of the sellers are just like $450 for the 2014 variation. And then you're looking at the triple vinyl LP of this album. Like, no counterfeits or bootlegs, no like exclusive smoke red 2022 pressing, no orange marbled vinyl or white vinyl, or none of the colored pressings, none of the bootlegs. You're looking at 1996 or 1998 limited edition triple LP. 1996 only like 50,000, maybe 100,000 some odd copies pressed. And then in 1998, when only like 100 or maybe 200,000 more were pressed, you're looking at anywhere from as cheap as like $330 for a poor copy, like has a scratch on one of the records, all the way up to $1,500, $2,000 for still sealed. So this album, like Siamese Dream, $700 sealed for an original 2 LP press. and then anywhere from $300 to $600 for like the orange marbled, purple vinyl, orange marbled vinyl, purple marbled vinyl, or colored pressings. And then, but this reissue specifically, I got this for $46 at Grimey's in Nashville. I got this for friggin' $46, and then look what happened. You look on eBay, and some of them are going this cheap, but then you have other copies that are going like $75-$80 all the way up to like $120. So I'm not going to get too far into that conversation because I've already gone off track for like the last 10 minutes. But the point is these two albums specifically, and that's my dog running up just so you know, but these two albums specifically have just gone off the charts. They're expensive, and they always have been for some odd reason. I don't know why, but they've never been cheap in any aspect. So if you're looking for an original vinyl pressing of any of these two albums, you better have some extra cash at hand, or just be ready to save for like 3 or 4 years, because it really has got that crazy. Anyways, now let's get into this Magnus Opus, this most incredible album of all time. So, starting with Dawn to Dusk. I'm going to get off track one last time and tell you about the 3 LP. So, instead of doing Dawn, Dusk, Twilight, Starlight, and then they added Dawn, Tea Time, Dusk, Twilight, Midnight, Starlight. So they added Tea Time to go in between Dawn and Dusk, and then Midnight to go between Twilight and Starlight. Now, let's get into this. Okay, here we go. So, starting off with Dawn to Dusk, the beginning of the album, you have the very first track, the opener, Mellon, Collie and the Infinite Sadness. This is played on piano, and it's got an orchestra to complement some parts of it. But what a beautiful opener to an album. Like, I remember the first day I listened to this, because this was the first album that I listened to when I really got into Smashing Pumpkins. Mellon, Collie and the Infinite Sadness. Oh my goodness. Just a beautiful first opener. I remember October 11th, 2022. I recorded this album on a single 60-minute cassette. I split Where Boys Fear to Tread into 2 different parts so that I could fit the whole album onto the 60-minute tape. And wow. I remember just popping that into my Walkman while walking to the bus that morning and just looking all around me and hearing the piano and the orchestra. Just so beautiful, so incredible. Definitely a great way to start off an album. And this is the second song I learned how to play on piano. There is a little part in the song that I still have to learn and perfect, but other than that, I can play the whole song. It's very great and awesome. It's just beautiful. Mellon, Collie and the Infinite Sadness, definitely up there in one of my favorite songs ever. Tonight, there's another one. So after the piano finishes with the little and then I can't get that high, but the little ding at the end, and then you just hear being sustained by the sustain pedal, and then it gets lifted off. Then the album then kicks off with Tonight, and you have the whole orchestra coming in, and then Jimmy Chamberlain on the snare drum going adding the orchestra, adding a 30-piece orchestra to this song was definitely a great idea because it definitely brings emphasis to the song. Um, one of great tracks, and William Patrick Corgan once said that that's just one of the songs that he feels like everybody has loved since the beginning because it just gets better with age. And it does. It does get better with age. I've listened to that song. Like, I haven't really gotten to the Smashing Pumpkins in 7th grade, but when I was listening to songs, I remember listening to Tonight Tonight. The song has a different meaning, and it's just so much better now. Now that, I don't know, it's been 4 years. Yeah, now that 4 years has passed, the song has a different meaning. And it's more touching, it's more understandable now than it was back then. Then after Tonight Tonight ends, you get the first rough song on the album, Jelly Belly. Now, this song is insane, especially Jimmy Chamberlin's trumming. Wow. Trumming. Like CHRUMMING. Trumming. Nope. My bad. But yeah, Jimmy Chamberlin's drumming is insane on this piece. He's just constantly whacking. Like he's like he's like going back and forth and all this crazy stuff. I don't know how he does it. Like Jimmy Chamberlin's drumming really impresses me. I don't know how he did it on Jelly Belly, but he did. And then Zero. This is to some known as like the best Smashing Pumpkins song ever. It's not, but this is definitely a very good track. This is the point when Billy Corgan just came out and said, well, this is what you wanted, wasn't it? Well, guess what, people? Now I'm nobody. And apparently, I was listening to an interview or a video depicting an interview on the Howard Stern show. And one of the questions that Howard Stern asked William was, what was the reason why you wore the Zero shirt? Like, what was the meaning behind that? And so, from what he said that he wore the shirt and he shaved his head off because he always kept getting negative criticism from the record industry, and people were always like, there was always somebody out there that would taunt him and just be like, ha ha, look at you, funny guy, da da da. But it was mainly with the record industry, with Virgin Records. So he just got so down at one point that he was like, he shaved his head off and he put the Zero shirt on, and he was like, there you go, look at me. Isn't this what you wanted? Guess what? Now I'm nothing. I'm stripping myself of nothing. NIN, 9 Inch Nails. Guess what? Now I'm nothing. There you go. And I don't know if 9 Inch Nails has anything to do with it, but NIN, even though it does stand for 9 Inch Nails, NIN also stands for Now I'm Nothing. When I get more knowledge on that, I'll explain that in a future video when I review some 9 Inch Nails albums. But back to this. So that's why he wears the Zero t-shirt, and he's went bald because he was just sick of people getting on him. He's like, you wanted nothing? Well, guess what? Now I'm nothing. There you go. And ever since then, that's been an icon to the rock world, and to some people, they started to see him and what he was going through and was like, oh, well, now we don't want you to freaking feel that way. And it's crazy that it takes somebody, like, it's crazy that people don't understand some people to the point where the person has to go as far as to saying that they are now nothing and being nothing for people to understand, like, oh, why did we do that? And that's what Billy was trying to say, is like, well, why do you keep calling me nothing? I might as well be nothing, so here you go. And that's basically what the song is about. Here is no why. This is basically, well, this song is hard to understand, but this is a song that's saying, like, well, I've seen my teenage life, and to some extent it was okay, but it wasn't. So he's trying to sign off his previous life, all the bad things that happened in it, and he's trying to move forward. Because if you stay in that sad machine, if you want to say, if you want to become part of that sad machine, you'll forever stay in that sad machine. You'll put it off in space and you'll be lost in there forever, which is basically what a teenager feels like is going to happen to them. They feel like they're going to dwell in sadness. Like everybody goes through a stage in their life, whether it's in their childhood years, their teenage years, or their adult years, where they feel like they're just going to be stuck in sadness and grief for the rest of their life. And Billy's trying to say, no, you're not. He doesn't point out in the song, he doesn't specifically say it. He's basically saying in the song that yes, it is. But the point he's making is, this is how it's going to be if you continue to dwell on it. He's basically saying it can be different if you decide to just turn it over and try to be happy, because you don't want to forever stay in the sad machine. Bullet with Butterfly Wings. This is a hit. I like this song. Just definitely, like, if there was any filler on this album has no filler. But if this were to have filler, for it being a hit song, I would be like, I don't know how it became a hit, but it's good. Bullet with Butterfly Wings is just, it's good. To Forgive. That's a beautiful track. He basically talks about the curse. Well, I don't know exactly what to forgive is. I'm just gonna keep moving on here. An Ode to No One. Now, if there was any filler, this might be considered filler, but this is definitely one of those hard tracks that I really like. Even though I'm not really fond of the message, I do love the musicality behind it. And I do relate to the message somewhat, but only some of it, not like the whole thing, because that's not how I really feel about anybody. But there are a couple parts in the song where I'm like, yeah, I can relate to that. Love. Now, love is definitely a complicated topic, and this is a take on that complicated topic from a more, not from like a happy perspective, but from more of like a sad perspective of what you want love to be, despite of what it actually is. Cupid de Loc is a love song. It's basically depicting the Valentine. It's basically depicting Cupid Valentine. That's what I was trying to say. Galapagos. Now, this is about... Apparently, this is a song that could be about what goes on when you sleep at... Like, what kind of dreams you have when you sleep at night with your significant other. Like, what you two dream about. It's basically a song about going off in a fantasy world. But they don't truly know if they love each other yet, but they have somewhat of a love for each other. And the main character here, Zero, he does not want her to turn back because he's running out of sound and he's changing all the time. But at the same time, he's making a point that's like, well, if we died right now, this fool that for some reason that you love is gonna die here with you. Um, Muzzle. Muzzle, I think, is just is Zero understanding the world before his eyes, all the positives and negatives of the world. It's basically Zero saying that he's seen the world before his eyes, and it's beautiful. It's also ugly, and you can make the world the way you can perceive the world the way that you want it to, even despite all the ups and downs it has. And then he understood the silence of the world. He knew the silence of the world, the things that weren't present in modern day society. Poor Selena of the Vast Oceans. This is basically just Zero having a dream about this potential, like, love that he finds at the ocean. Or maybe it's depicting a goddess. I'm not exactly sure. But, and then Take Me Down, because the main character is feeling down and he wants to hide. He wants to hide away from everybody because all he wants to see is the person that he loves truly. And he knows that there's a love that God has put there in his heart, but he's not sure how to show it to the world yet. Now we get to Twilight to Starlight, Where Boys Fear to Tread. This is a good, heavy song. This is one of the songs that is supposedly about Courtney Love, but is definitely debated. Same thing about Bodies. It's not really 100% sure whether these two songs are about Courtney Love or not, but they could be. Now, every song on this album is 5 out of 5, but I've said this before in my album review. 33 is a 6 out of 5. 33 is very simple, but it is the most beautiful song I have ever heard in this entire world. I don't know how to explain it. It's so simple. It's so delicate. It's my favorite song on this album, but it is definitely my favorite song ever. It's so simple, but it's crazy how Billy Corgan can write a song that's very simple, that only had, there's not even drums in the whole song. If anything, there's the little, like, salt shakers, or maybe it's just the hi-hat giving a rhythm, but I think it's shakers of some kind. That's all there is in the whole song. And then the bass is very subtle. You have a guitar for effect, like the, and then you have an acoustic guitar. That's it. You don't have any crazy stuff. You don't got any crazy sound effects. You got a piano with all the stuff I mentioned before with it, and that's all you get. It's very simple, but the lyrics, the way that the music flows together, the message, it's all so relatable, especially after moving from where I used to live. After moving here, I've been here for 5 months now. After moving, it's such a relatable song. And I feel like at this point, Zero is, let's say he's going to move. I'm going to put myself in Zero's shoes for a minute, and I'm going to say that Zero is getting ready to move away from his love. So, I'm going to say that I'm Zero for a minute. Here's how I depict the song. They're getting ready to move. Zero doesn't want to move. He doesn't want to go to a new place. He doesn't want to be 2,000 miles away from possibly the love of his life. But he has to move. he has to go. And so he puts himself in the shoes of Jesus Christ. And he wants to spread love to the world, so he tries to do just that. He's like, I know I'll make it because our love will last forever. And I will continue to spread this love to other parts of the world so the world can live in peace and unity. And then when he says, and you can make it last forever, he's saying that I'm leaving the job up to you to bring the same, or close to it, if not the same, to bring love and peace to this city that I've lived in. I'm counting on you to be the person that can also spread this love and cheer around the world along with me. We have to be apart and on separate sides of the country, but we know that we can eventually do it. It's basically what it's saying. And then he's like, well, I get wrapped up in the pleasures of the world sometimes, and I go off and do whatever. But despite the fact that I've journeyed here and there and back again, and then I live here now, I'm going to continue finding love and spreading it, because despite of the haunts and the dreams and nightmares that I've had, I still find my friends. I still find peace, even though some of the mysteries are not ready to reveal. I still spread that love to people because all I want is the best for people. And I'm counting on you to do the same thing, because I can't do it by myself, is what he's saying. And so it's basically a love that lasts forever, despite being apart. In the Arms of Sleep, this is a good one. He's basically, Zero is getting a little selfish, but he knows that he can't make it on his own, and so he's like, I've been alone for quite some time, and there are things that I can live without in this world, but I need you right now. We need each other. And she feels the same way about him. Is like, I'm selfish too, and there's things I can live without, but I need you too. So it's basically apply for Zero and his significant other, saying that they need each other. And then 1979, Billy Corgan wrote this as a coming-of-age song when he was 12 years old, and he wanted to grow up and be a teenager despite all that's happened, and the fact that he could just go out and have fun because that's what some teenagers do. So 1979, this is definitely one of my favorite Smashing Pumpkins songs ever, and one of my favorite songs ever. 1979 definitely brings a nostalgic feeling, and some people consider this to be the best Smashing Pumpkins song. But again, it's highly debatable. But it's really good. Tales of a Scorched Earth. This would definitely be the song that's filler, if there's any filler on this album. But Tales of a Scorched Earth still brings an emphasis to the album. Sorry, the inside of my mouth's itching. But Tales of a Scorched Earth definitely brings an emphasis to the album. Through the Eyes of Ruby is another good one. Not sure what that one is about, but I think at this point he's like, I'm moved away, and now I'm trying to find somebody, and there's somebody that I've seen recently that I really like. It's great. And then Stumbling is just a good track. Is like, he's basically just in the basement playing something, and he's talking about how his life has gone recently and how it's changed. XYU is a rough live track, and it's also really good. XYU is, it could be another filler song, but it's definitely good in its own way. We Only Come Out at Night. Now, for this one, I think it was a sitar. Billy Corgan, one of his friends dared him to get a sitar, and he bought a sitar, and his friend was like, "Oh, you're never going to use that. You're never going to use that instrument." And so William Patrick Corgan, I go between Billy and William Patrick because it's the same guy, but William Patrick Corgan proved his friend wrong, and he said, "Oh, I'll write you a song. I'll tell you, here you go. I got a song for you right here, right now. Boo, boo, boo." And then he started singing "Will and Come Out at Night," and then it came on the album, and then they were like, "Whoa, he actually did it." So, despite the message it has, because it's a really awesome message, it was a song that was written to prove a point to a friend that, like, "Oh, dude, I'm a musical savant. I've been a musical savant since age 7. Tell me that I can't write a song with it, that I can't write a song with this. I can totally write a song with this instrument." So he just proved him wrong, basically. Beautiful. Beautiful is saying that Zero has found a person to be with, but it's hard to tell, rather, like, if he loves him or if he just wants him so he can get his attention away from the person he truly loves. And so then Lily, my one and only, comes along, and at this point he found somebody that he truly loves, that he's truly dead set on, doesn't want to change, doesn't want anybody else. He doesn't want to laugh for no one else. Haha, Weezer reference. But it's kind of creepy because he's like sitting up in the tree hoping that he will notice her. But then when she doesn't, she calls the cops on him. And he's not sure if Zero's not sure if she likes somebody else, because he eventually sees somebody else coming in and like kissing her, and he gets all like jealous. And so he doesn't know for sure who she really likes. But then the officer knocks on the door and is like, "What's going on here?" And then before you know it, he gets arrested. And some people have claimed they don't like the unhappy ending of this character about getting thrown in jail because of that. But Billy Corgan said crime does not come at an easy price. And so he just ended the song with saying, "And as they drag me away, I swear I saw her raise her hand and wave goodbye." But yeah, it's a good song for sure. By Starlight is another good one. That's just basically saying Starlight has come. It's basically a promise to his significant other that he's going to be their one and only. He's making that promise to the person that he moved away from in his previous town. And then, let's say this happens while he's in jail, and then he gets released. He goes back to his parents, and then he explains about his whole day, from dawn to starlight. He explains how his whole day has went and how he's felt, and with the move going on and everything, and moving away, and the fact that he doesn't like it. And then they tell him about all the good things that he's got ahead of him, and that there's always tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day, and there's a chance to make it better. And so they tell him good night, and then he falls away into a dreamy state as the piano comes in at the end of the album and fades away. With that being said, in my opinion, the winner of these two albums is Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. So I commented recently. I talked to someone on YouTube and made a comment about how I prefer this album more than Siamese Dream and how more of this is filler. And then they said, "You have more knowledge about the Pumpkins than I do, but I'll still gonna give my opinion." And I respect it, and I totally see where he's coming from. But this is why Smashing Pumpkins is definitely one of those bands where all opinions can be respected without too much hassle, because they're they're a diverse group. They're a diverse music group, and I'll explain in a minute. But he said, what you're saying on Siamese Dream about almost half of the album being filler is how I feel about Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. If they took out Twilight to Starlight and then took out the good songs like 1979, for example, and then just got rid of the rest of the songs, and then had the whole first side, the whole Dawn to Dusk with 1979, and then maybe Farewell and Goodnight or something like that, then this would be the best album, the best Smashing Pumpkins album. But apparently, my view on Siamese Dream is their same view on Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. He's like, but the whole second half of the album, the Twilight to Starlight's filler, like In the Arms of Sleep and 33, not trying to get on your favorite song, sorry by the way, but songs like that and then Stumbling, they just don't do it for me. And I was like, okay, I can see that. But here's the point that he made, where he said that, but it's okay. This is why the Smashing Pumpkins is for everybody. And I say this to you out there, to people who are like dead set on one of these two albums, whether you're like, Siamese Dream is the best. No, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness is the best. No, Siamese Dream, Melancholy, Siamese Dream, out of that. The truth is, even though I consider this to be the best, these are both really good albums. But it does come down to preference. This album is more rough and hard rock kind of style. This is heavy. And some people really, really love the heavy kind of stuff, which is this album. And then this album, even though it's got a few heavy tracks, this is more chill and calm and slow and mellow. And it really just comes down to preference. So I love the hard, heavy tracks. Don't get me wrong. Like, for example, like I said, Jelly Belly. Love Jelly Belly. Zero. And then what's another hard? Bullet with Butterfly Wings is heavy. An Ode to No One's heavy. Muzzle's pretty heavy. Where Boys Fear to Tread and Bodies and Tales of a Scorched Earth is kind of heavy. There's a lot of songs on this album that are heavy, but they're definitely more subtle. They're more calm compared to this. A lot of the songs on here, for example, like Quiet, Cherub Rock, Soma, Silverfuck, those are all heavy tracks. And Geek USA, that's a heavy track too. So it really just comes down to preference. So even though I consider this to be the best album of all time by the Smashing Pumpkins, and this is my favorite album ever, Siamese Dream still has its place, and lots of people consider this to be it. It just comes down to personal preference. But after all of that I just explained and went through, I love all of the Smashing Pumpkins' music. All the way from the first song on Gish, I Am One, to the last song on Sir, Minerva. All of those songs in between, and Zwan's Merry Star of the Sea. All of that music is just really, really good. It's all good. The Smashing Pumpkins are probably just the best band in the whole world, because they progressed through time. And then after the release of Machina the Machines of God and Machina 2, The Friends and Enemies of Modern Music, like after they released Machina 2 on the internet, and then they broke up and formed, and then Jimmy Chamberlain and Billy Corgan formed the supergroup Zwan, and then released Mary Star of the Sea, and then after they broke up, and then Smashing Pumpkins reformed and created Zeitgeist, and then Oceania and Monuments to an Elegy, and then they got the original members, 3 of the 4 original members, back together in 2018 and released Shiny and also Bright and Sur. Despite all that's happened between them, from I Am One all the way down to Minerva, they have just progressed as musicians, every single one of them. And it's just incredible how Billy Corgan just went from experimenting with LSD to like having a lot of time on his hands during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it just everything in between. He definitely is a musical savant, and it's just great how this music progressed. So even though I prefer specific albums over others, you really have to listen to all their albums from the first one to the last, and then include Zwan's Mary Star of the Sea between Machina 2 and Zeitgeist, because it's just incredible. Really is amazing music. So with that said, that is the end of the video. I hope this gave you some background information, if not a lot, because I don't have a lot of knowledge quite yet. I haven't been listening to this music for 40 years, or like 30 to 40 years, so I can't really have a hard line based opinion yet, because I haven't deep dived into them. So we'll see if my opinion changes in 16 years when I'm 33 years old, and then we'll come back to this argument, and then I'll give you more info then, even if Mellon, Collie and the Infinite Sadness still remains my favorite album. But I hope you took some knowledge from this and you've learned. Before I end the video, I want to say one thing. On May 5th, the Smashing Pumpkins plan to release the 3rd and final act of Autumn, a rock opera in 3 acts. They recently released the 4 LP box set, but I'm not going to get it if it's not good like people are saying it is. So I'm going to wait and see if it's good. On May 5th, I'm going to give it a first listen and then give you my first impressions. But yeah, Autumn, a rock opera in 3 acts. I'm looking forward to this because Billy Corgan has claimed that it is a sequel to Mellon, Collie and the Infinite Sadness and Machina, the Machines of God. It is a concept where, because Mellon, Collie in the Infinite Sadness, the background is like Zero's background, the main character is Zero, and then the main character on Machina, the Machines of God, is Glass, who's a rock star, who's being oppressed from all this fame. And then you have Autumn here, which is about a character named Shine and their perspective. So I'm interested to see how this 33-track album goes. And it's funny that it's 33 songs, because 33 is my favorite song by the Smashing Pumpkins. So the fact that this new album is going to be 33 songs is like mind-blowing for me. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. We'll see if this album ends up becoming my second favorite album ever, or if Zwan's Mary Star of the Sea will still top it off as number 2 as my second favorite album ever. But I don't know. We'll just have to see. So when May 5th rolls around, I'll give you more information on that, and I'll go through each track and give you my personal thoughts. So without further ado, thank you so much for watching the video. Again, I hope you took some influence from this and took some knowledge, if not a whole lot. Comment down below which album you prefer and why. If you enjoyed this video and this little talk we've had for a little over an hour, please give the video a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more unboxings, music-related content, and then anything that is involved about music. And then, I don't know if I want to get into it yet, but I do want to talk about this tour that I went on last year. And to finally finish things off, I am 5 months away from seeing the Smashing Pumpkins. And it's funny because I get to see the Smashing Pumpkins exactly a year later after I saw Roger Waters. So that was a funny coincidence. It seemed like everything lined up the way it was supposed to. But I can't wait to see the Smashing Pumpkins. They're actually almost 4 months away now. And I just can't wait. It's going to be my first ever show. Just can't wait to hear this. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you so much. And I'll catch you all on the flip side.